Hey Keg, welcome to the
Hey, what's up,
show.
man? Hey, how you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Hey, so the reason I wanted to get you on the show is because I get a lot of questions of people asking me for Brewmaster Monk tips, and you're basically the go-to for that. And so I wanted to kind of ask you about all this so we can get some of that content here, and then we can go ahead and ask me some questions so we can do some Prot Warrior stuff as well. But I definitely wanted your input on anything Brewmaster related.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm happy to do it. Let's go.
All right, so first of all, I want to establish your street cred. So when did you start playing WoW? Like what expansion and why did you start playing?
I started playing WoW in Cataclysm right as Firelands was about to come out. I remember that they were making a big deal about it on the World of Warcraft launcher. I started playing when my cousin first got into the game, and back then I just played a lot of Call of Duty and Halo on the Xbox, but I decided to just watch him play a little bit when I was over at his house, and it just looked so cool, like all the different colors, all the animations, things like that. So I just thought I'd give it a go. I did my 10-day free trial, and I just kept on playing, years and years later, and here we are.
Wow, so it's been a while.
Yep.
So how long have you been a tank in particular?
When I first started WoW, I tried out a Night Elf Hunter, and then after that I did a little bit of Undead Mage. But then when I got my brother to start playing the game, we did the Recruit a Friend system, and I started off with a Paladin and just kept going with that, as it just played a prop Paladin all the way through the rest of Cata, and then picked up Brewmaster Monk when Mists of Pandaria came out and didn't really stop playing that one.
Are you enjoying Brewmaster Monks right now?
Oh yeah, but I will say at the beginning of Legion, I really, really, really hated the new rotation and things like that. I didn't like it, not because I missed the guard playstyle, but it didn't seem right to me without chi and other things. We felt very squishy at the beginning, but that was just a gear issue. Yeah.
That's good. Are there any accessories that you particularly use to help you, like a Razer Naga or a gamepad or anything like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Like the Razer Naga, I think is hands down like the best tool I've ever had. Like I tried out, Razer had this other thing called a Razer Nostromo, which I saw from Swifty, if you guys ever heard about him.
Oh, I remember Swifty.
Yeah. I tried that out. Didn't really do much for me since I have all my fingers. So I just kind of stepped with the I just kind of stepped with the Razer Naga for the rest of the time, and yeah, I've had the same exact one since I started playing WoW. Yeah, any mouse that has extra buttons, whether it be a Corsair one or a Logitech one, I definitely think is one of the most important things for me to play World of Warcraft.
Right. Do you use any keyboards that have macro keys or anything like that can record keystrokes?
I used to have a Razer Black Widow, which had like those 5 or 6 keys on the side, and I tried one out, but it was just like my login info, so I didn't have to type it out every single time.
Okay.
They just usually those types of macro keys are too far out of reach to really make effective, in my opinion. So I just kind of stopped, and I don't really have any keyboards that do that anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Do you have any add-ons in particular that you recommend for Brewmaster tanks? I know like DBM and Recount or SCADA are kind of for everybody at this point, but do you have anything in particular that really makes your life as a Brewmaster Monk really easy?
Specifically like a Brewmaster or Monk specific add-on, not really. There's one that modifies an audio thing whenever I use my Rushing Jadewind, but aside from that, it's all just Weakauras and Weakauras. Just that is the most versatile add-on like on the face of the planet. Like
right,
you can track everything, your rotation, your buffs, this and that. It's just amazing. Like
I
really,
absolutely agree. Do you have a video where you break down your Weakauras?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have 3 different videos because I play 3 different tanks. So we've got the Brewmaster Weakauras, we've got Guardian Druid Weakauras, and Vengeance Demon Hunter Weakauras, and they're all pre-packaged and they have the paste bins in the description and all that stuff. Yep.
Cool. So we'll go ahead and be linking that here in this video if you guys are interested in any of those Brewmaster Weakauras. Now, do you have any real basic tips for anybody just jumping into Brewmaster, kind of leveling up or playing maybe at normals or heroic levels?
Leveling up Brewmaster might be a bit of a pain just because of how they take damage. They're quite squishy without gear. They're quite squishy without like just the proper environment. They're very tuned for 110 with their artifact weapon. So leveling up and things like that, don't worry too much. Just kind of like do your quests, do your dungeon spams. But when you start to get it to 110, you get into your normals and heroics and eventually mythic. just really try and focus on specifically how to manage your brews. If you just keep purifying every chance that you get, you're going to run out, and then you're going to be very squishy because you don't have your iron skin brew. I highly recommend, the quicker that you get used to using Black Ox Brew, which is a talent, once you get used to using that, then brew management is extremely easy. Like, you can keep Iron Skin Brew 100% uptime with 0% haste as long as you're using Black Ox Brew. It's the most powerful talent on that row. Yeah. So once you get used to Black Ox Brew, then just kind of make sure that you can manage the rest of your brews and figure out when are proper times to pull, when are proper times to pull an extra pack, or to wait on your healer, things like that. Just general tanking stuff translates pretty well to Brewmaster overall.
And how are you guys with solo content as far as like World Quest goes? Because I know for Prot Warriors, World Quests are like the easiest thing ever, but if I switch over to ARMS, it takes a lot more effort. Are you guys good with the solo content?
We're pretty good, just like 1 or 2 mobs at a time, depending on how geared you are. You can switch out some talents, which make it a little bit easier for you to self-heal. And if you're not used to the corner monking advanced sort of play style, then your solo healing really is just dependent on how fast you kill the mob, because then you might die. But Brewmasters, as long as you have something on your right side, like a solid object, whether it be a giant rock or a wall, something like that, as long as you're right up against it, then you can pretty much tank anything and everything, and you just won't die.
Right.
Yeah.
So what resources do you go and use? I know there's been a little bit of controversy over like Wowhead guides and Icy Veins, especially a lot of controversy regarding Noxic. So are there any resources in particular that you use besides obviously your channel? Is there anything else that people can go to?
The first thing I do when I try and learn a new class or a new spec is I do visit Wowhead or Icy Veins just to try and get a general sort of rotation, like maybe just what things I should kind of keep in my head when I'm trying to do the rotation, things like that. Also, stat priority. While not everything is updated on things like Icy Veins, usually Wowhead has a general pretty spot on stat priority for most specs and classes. And once I'm comfortable with just kind of like the general idea of playing a different spec other than Brewmaster or whatever else that I used to play, then I'll go and try and find a YouTube video and just try and learn specifically from a guy who already plays the spec, who already plays the class, and who's knowledgeable enough to actually try and make quality content about it, because they obviously care a lot about it, so they want to make a good video, good guide, things like that. If that's not enough, or if that's not enough, or I want more information, then I'll go and either try and find a specific website or a specific like just straight up spec guide that it's just a website all around this class. Or you can just go into the class discords, because they're also pretty good. They have a lot of resources there as well.
Right. Is there any particular discord you use, and if so, we can go ahead and link it?
There's the Peak of Serenity Discord, which has a lot of good stuff about Brewmasters. I don't really hang out in there too much, because personally, to me, I feel like the Discord is just a place where you can kind of just flex your muscles about what cool thing that you did this week. Like, oh, I did a plus 18 and pulled 600k DPS. Like, while there is some people that really help with your questions and things like that, a lot of the ones that I had when I was really trying to learn Brewmaster at the start of the expansion either was ignored or just kind of like put down, because I was originally using light brewing instead of Black Ox Brew, things like that. So if you guys would like to visit the Discord, then you can. The link is probably going to be in the description. But other than that, usually I mostly stick to the YouTube guides.
Okay, that's good to know. Any advanced tips? So now that Nighthold has been out, it's been out for, I believe this is the 3rd week now. Any specific advice with Nighthold? I know it completely changed around a lot of playstyle for different people, just because the fights are very different than what you see in Emerald Nightmare. In Emerald Nightmare, we don't have a fight like Star or Tichondrius. So is there any specific advice you have for anyone that's starting their journey through Nighthold, be it normal or heroic?
Well, first things first, things like Fat Boss on YouTube, where they go over each boss guide, that is probably the best starting zone of just where to get your head in the right place when you're trying to pull these bosses. After that, if you're having a trouble like on a personal play style, like you just can't seem to stay alive, or you can't seem to kill this ad or heal these people, whatever, then probably the best place to go after that is the class discords, because they have people who are always trying to better themselves to just get the highest sort of parses, or to solo tank the entire boss and all the ads. They really want to push themselves to the limit. So if you have any specific gameplay issues which you just can't seem to wrap your head around, then the discords usually are the place to go for something like that.
Right. Yeah. And so let's say I'm stuck in a specific area. Is there anything else? Like, do you ever rock two different sets of gear, like a more versatility heavy gear set for something like Star? Or is there anything else that you kind of have a trick up your sleeve for Nighthold right now?
For Brewmaster specifically, we kind of deal with all sorts of damage very, very well, just due to how stagger works as our tanking mechanic. For some fights, like Star Augur, I might switch in more crit gear so that I can get more bonus heals. Definitely trying to go for more versatility on magic heavy fights. As good as Mastery is for just overall tank, for our health smoothing and things like that for dodge, a lot of the actual deadly damage in Nighthold is magic damage. Even on Croesus, where it's just one big guy who you think is going to hurt hard, what's actually hurting you the most is the magic debuff that he puts on. So things like Mystic Vitality, very, very, very important for almost every single fight in Nighthold. Crit heavy gear, versatility heavy gear is going to really get you far in those type of fights.
And so overall, what has made WoW easier for you besides stuff like DBM? Just talking about all of WoW, is there any particular thing that stands out? I know we talked about accessories, but is there anything else in your mind that really stands out?
When it comes to just the general game, when you're just trying to get better as the game as a whole, when you're trying to figure out different things, like for instance, when I was first playing WoW, I was playing a Holy Paladin way back before I even made my thing with my brother. Like I played a Holy Paladin, which was a tank, and I was rolling on cloth gear because it had better armor, which I thought as a tank that was the way to go, right? But that was in Firelands, that's not even way back when, where you would have cloth gear on just because it had better stats. Like just general game knowledge, the best thing is simply just experience and just how long you've been playing the game. You just start to pick up on things. You start to pick up on different acronyms that people use, like WTS, which is like willing to sell or wanting to trade, things like that. You can pick those up in trade chat just because you've been there for a long time. You could also look them up, but maybe you forget them. So just the exposure is the best thing, in my opinion. But aside from that, there's really good just WoW YouTube channels like Preach Gaming and Bellular. They have really good just overall WoW things to keep you updated on the new stuff that's coming out. Maybe they have guides like how to fly in Legion, where you can just look that up on Wowhead, but they just keep you in the loop, and it's with an entertaining source like a video with cool background music and things like that.
Right. Now, I know a lot of the bigger YouTube channels, like you mentioned, Bellular and Preach, and I know Asmongold. Everybody's been talking about Burnout a lot lately. Now Nighthold is out, so that's kind of a sidestep. But what do you do exactly to kind of keep the burnout fatigue from hitting you too hard?
Well, I just really like this game a lot, to be honest, man. Like I just really, really, really like WoW. So I don't really get burned out too much, but there have been some periods, like just yesterday, in fact, like I was really bored and just didn't really want to run any dungeons, things like that. And at that point, if you're not, like, I was just unhappy playing it at the time, which was literally just yesterday. I was just unhappy with what I was doing. I just felt like whatever, like I just wasn't getting the satisfaction from the game as a whole. What I did is I just simply turned off the game. I went and started playing that new Resident Evil game. I picked that up and I was having a lot of fun with that yesterday. But there have been a couple times over the past 5 or 6 years that I've been playing WoW where I just stopped playing altogether. I took like many months break, whether that was because I wasn't really content with the game or I had other priorities like school or work or things like that. I don't know many people, honestly, that have played WoW, let's say from vanilla, like all 12 years at this point, that haven't taken some sort of break, because it is a lot to just keep playing over and over and grinding over and over, especially in an expansion like Legion, where there's constant artifact power, there's that constant carrot on a stick with the legendaries. It can get burnt out really easily, but a big thing that helps is alts as well. I play 3 different classes, 3 different tanks. So if I'm getting bored with the sound effects in particular with a Brewmaster, I'll just go ahead and switch over the Demon Hunter or the Bear real quick and just have some fun over there.
All right. Yeah. And then do you also enjoy doing any PvP, or is PvE your main focus?
Absolutely, PvE is my main focus. I've tried out PvP before, like many different times in the other expansions, and just PvP gear as a whole has put a very sour taste in my mouth. I know it's not really a issue now, because with the PvP templates, everyone's just more or less on the same playing field, and just the higher item level you get, the better you can be. But I just really don't like it as a whole. It's a whole new meta game to try and figure out, and not something that I particularly care too much of, besides maybe the artifact skins and the skin colors. Aside from those, I don't really think I ever really dabble with PvP too much more in Legion.
Okay.
All of it is just PvE. Yep.
Okay, that's cool. Hey, well, thanks a lot for coming over here and answering all these questions for us. If anyone here is interested in the reverse interview where I interview him, you can go ahead and check out his channel. Either way, I recommend you definitely check out Keg's channel. He has a lot of good stuff. Specifically, he does a lot with his Brewmaster, but he also does more than that. So absolutely, if you guys want to check him out, his link is going to be in the description here. So thank you guys for watching.
See you guys.
Thanks.